Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Strip Club. It is January 2020. Yay, I know, very exciting. New year, new possibilities. Traditionally, we do a batik strip club project in January. This month, we decided not to do batik. We're instead focusing on ombre fabric, because now that I designed batik fabric for Timeless Treasure, we seem to do batik all the time. So we're making January special. January always feels like a special time for me for quilting, because all the holidays are behind us, and we can focus not on decorating and baking and wrapping and cooking, and we can focus on quilting. So basically, we can stop thinking about everybody else and get back to what we love. So January is a great quilting month, especially since it's cold. Yes, even here in the San Diego area, it can get a little cold. I see some puffy jackets out there. Of course, some of the East Coast people may laugh at us at the way we dress up at 60-degree weather, but, you know, there's privileges to living in California. My name is Daniela Stout, and I own Cozy Quilt Designs and Cozy Creative Center. We are filming live from Cozy Creative Center. Well, we're live right now, but then it'll be on videotape. So today I want to feature a new pattern called Ombre Stars. This was designed by Georgette DeLorco. That's my mom. My mom comes to dinner and often brings me a new design from EQ. And if it's good enough, I let her stay for dinner. Just kidding. But she does come. It's her release is to sit down at EQ and design patterns. Lucky for us, they are some of our top-selling patterns. They're designed by my mom, Georgette. This was one she brought me, I don't know, a long time ago, and I had it in my what I call my bag of tricks. So I have this folder of design ideas from her, design ideas from me. And when the time comes, I go through it and I pull it out. This was not originally an ombre design. But as I started to play with it, I'm like, wait a minute. If we just take some ombre fabric and we do this and we do that, we could have a nice effect. So I wrote it as if you're using it for ombre fabrics. You do not have to use an ombre fabric. If you don't know what an ombre fabric is, it's a fabric that goes from a light value to a dark value. The ones I'm using are from Moda, and they're V & Company. They go from a dark value to a light value back to a dark value. So here is the strip. This is the full width of fabric. So can you see the variation in value? And then they add a nice extra little touch, which are the dots. They have these metallic dots on this design. So the metallic dots also get heavier on the edges, lighter in the middle, keeping with the value of the lighter in the middle. Now, some ombre fabrics will be dark to light all the way down. It will vary in one hue. It won't go back to the dark. You can do a lot with them. This pattern is written as if you have two sides that have equal value. They graduate the same way. So on this side of the fabric, it's dark to light. On the other side of the strip, it's light to dark. So once you put them folded, you have the same value at every stage of the strip set. So for that reason, when we cut our strips, we are going to keep them folded. We'll cut our strips based on what the pattern says, and when we cut, we'll get two pieces out of each cut. So this segment I'll get twice exactly the same, because it's exactly the same on this side as it is on that side. So when I tell you to cut the strips, that's what we'll do. So before we get into that, I have in the quilt some print ombre strips, background fabric, and an accent fabric. Do you see the accent fabric?
Yes.
Okay, the accent fabric is the gray. It's the little bit gray there. And the stars we will make from pieces from the strips also. So when you get to your pattern, I'll tell you what pieces to cut, what segments to cut for set A and set B. Set A and set B will come out of the same strip set. So as I mentioned, we keep it folded. We will cut set A from the light side, set B from the darker side. The two set B will be identical. Keep them as a set, put them aside. The two sets A will be identical. Keep them together, put them aside. So you will get something that looks like a set A. Will that stay? Let's see. And a set B. Okay? Wonder clips. Love Wonder clips. They're great for organizing, not just fabric. They organize your office too. You can organize paper with them. I do it all the time. Okay, so that's set A and set B. You can refer to your pattern for what size to cut these prints. I have lines drawn so you can see how I'm cutting. You don't have to draw the lines. In fact, I strongly encourage you don't. Here we have set C and set D. Pay attention to the pattern because set D comes from the light, set C comes from the darker, and it's easy to get confused with that. Ask me how I know. And here we have, in the center, we're cutting out 2.5-inch squares. So we have a D, 2.5-inch squares, and a C. This is a different color. So if they don't match, you can understand why. And then we have some squares that we're going to cut, 2.5-inch squares. All right? Keep your set C's together, your D's, your A's, and your B's. Put them all in stacks. Stay organized. All right, so we've cut a bunch of squares too from other strips, and now we're going to assemble the star. That's the first thing we do. In order to assemble the stars, we're going to do a stitch and flip technique. I'm going to get to the page because it always serves me well to read what I'm talking about. But before we do the stitch and flip, we're going to build out a triangle. To do this, here's an accent. Now remember I told you that you can use ombre fabrics or you can use regular print fabrics. So in my teaching sample, I have a combination of both. Here are now just plain print fabrics. Background fabric and accent fabric to make a segment like this. We're going to add a triangle piece like that, sew the two together, and then trim. So we will get a triangle piece that looks like this. Okay, so you make a bunch of those. And put those aside. We'll come back to those in just a moment. Stitch and flip technique. We've done this a number of times before. You will draw a diagonal line on the back of some 2.5-inch print squares. A faint diagonal line. Ours is pretty bold so you can see it, but a faint diagonal line. This is a background segment. We will put them right sides together as pictured. Use the pictures in the pattern. Stitch a thread inside that drawn line, and then flip this over to get a rectangle that has a triangle in the corner. That looks just like this. When you flip this over, make sure these two edges are flush so you maintain a rectangle. Once you know they are, flip it back and then trim away the excess fabric behind here that doesn't need to stay in. So flip that back and you have a rectangle that looks like this. Now you'll make another one, same technique but different placement. So same technique except it will look like this. We put it right sides together. There's our square, right sides together with the rectangle. A stitch towards the point, and we sew a stitch towards the point so that when we fold this over, it eats up a little bit of fabric. We'll still make it all the way to the edge. Make a bunch that look like that, a bunch that look like that. One more stitch and flip technique. We're going to make a piece that looks like that. Same thing as we just did. First you start on one side, stitch and flip. Then you go to the other side, stitch and flip. So now you have a flying geese. A flying goose? Is it singular flying goose? Okay, you have a flying goose. Okay. Okay? So we're going to build out our star. You can see we're starting to have our pieces to build out our star. That piece. That piece. That piece. Flip this around. That piece. This is the same flying goose making flying geese. Now it can be plural, right? Flip that around, put that there. And then we're just missing two pieces here, and these are background rectangles. Okay, so we started our star. Remember that triangle we made? We're going to add the triangle to there and trim the edges to get a segment that looks like this. All right, you with me? Okay, now we're going to grow our block very easily. paying attention if you're using ombre that you are duplicating the graduating effect on each side. So we'll start with, I'm hoping A, because like that makes sense, right? We're going to start with set A. We will add an accent square, and we're going to build out our block. Accent square. Our two set A's, which look the same. You decide if you want that light to be in the center or if you want it to be on the outside. I tell you the lights go in. Now we're going to, but you can do what you want to do with your quilt. Now we're going to add a B. B is a darker value of A. This comes from the same set, so it's the same color. If you are not using ombre fabric, you will want to use a different fabric here so that they don't just meld into one big thick chunk. What I'd recommend is if you can, use a lighter value, like a light yellow here, and then a different strip, maybe a dark yellow here. You will create that same sort of ombre effect, that radiating effect. So now we do the B. Can you see where this is going? Yeah. All right, C will be set a little differently. We're not actually going to complete a rectangle because we will trim this. And we don't want to use more fabric than we need. So to make C, we'll only go to the edge. And then D, following the edges once again, always putting the lights to the centers so that the darker part of the strip can be on the outside. Did I do that? Okay, I did that. Okay? This is basically your block. Now you just have to square it up. So you'll put your square up ruler up against this edge, trim away the left side, the top, and the right side. And there's your block. It is really a half a block. When we twist and turn them, two half blocks come together to make the star. But because it is sort of a half drop effect, you start every other row with half a block, so it has half a star on the top. That's what creates the interest and makes it so much movement in the quilt. So your block starts from here to there, up to there, over to there, and then down. One block over and over again, just flip and turn. There is sashing between each of the columns. You're welcome. Part of the reason is sashing is to give the eye rest, so there's not a whole lot of too much ombre movement, but also you will never have to worry about this matching up with this. In fact, you don't even have to worry about these two matching up. If they don't match up, it's okay. It's not critical that they match. So it's a very forgiving quilt. Fun fact, when I originally designed this, I was doing it all mathematically first. And I handed it off to Julie, who made this sample and tested the quilt for me. And as I handed it to her, I originally wrote it so it was 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. This throw size was 4 columns by 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I realized it would be incomplete. I want you to, please, if you can, imagine this quilt without this column. Doesn't it look incomplete now? Yeah. It's not symmetrical. So this was, I don't know, Christmas, New Year's Eve? New Year's Eve. Shoot. I'm like, I got to give you more strips. We got to add another column. Now it makes a much more pleasing effect, especially for this size. So this is the throw size. It's 5 by 4. And then we have a table runner size and we have a lap size. So lap size is 3 across and the table runner size is 1 all the way down. Sashing, and then we duplicated the accent in border 1 and then this wonderful ombre print which sets it all off for the border 2. And we found a terrific, with a little bit of gold speckle, sort of a gray binding from a different line for the binding. You want to see the back? nice, isn't it? I like a nice back. You put so much work into the top, you should have a nice brand. There's a lot of words on here. I think they're mostly colors. Quilted, I gathered some of my hand-drawn mats, some old, well, I think it's a ramble. It's a stream of consciousness for a quilter on the back, which is fun. Any questions on the quilt? It's good, right?
Yes.
Very pretty. You guys all loved it when you came in, which is always nice for me. It's a great way to start the new year. But darn, aren't I going to get the regular question I almost always get? Aren't you sweet not to throw that at me in case I didn't have it at another colorway? But I do. And this one's fun because it does not use ombre fabric. So you get to see it, what it looks like, not focusing on the ombre. Make sure I do this right. So here's a batik collection. It was a rainbow collection of batik prints. And this is 3 across, right? So this is the lap. Pretty, huh?
Yes.
Fun back. Always fun back. And a bonus. A third one. Not bad for January.
It is almost the middle.
It is almost the middle of January. Thanks. So there's your table runner. And this is not batik, not ombre. Am I completely hidden? Tell me I'm completely hidden. Except for my elbows, right?
You don't want to know about your hips showing.
Oh, no, I didn't want to know about my hips showing. Thanks. All right, so that's that quilt. So I thought it'd be fun. It was December. Izzy Prado designed a quilt that we created as one of our strip club projects called Double Dipping, and it featured the same ombre fabric. So I thought it'd be fun if we revisit that. You remember it?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, do I have it crooked? So this is called Double Dipping because this wonderful pattern created 2 quilts in one. This was the main quilt. And then this one was the bonus quilt. So this is another fun way to feature those ombre fabrics. And then, yeah, the bonus table runner. Uh-oh, are we setting a precedent now? You guys can start asking, where's the table runner? Isn't that lovely? So this was from Double Dipping. So it's mostly the same fabrics as what you see up on the wall behind us. Definitely the same effect, the same ombre with the dots on it, V & Company by Moda. Love that sentence. But I thought it'd be fun to show those. It's good?
Yeah.
Are you inspired? Do you want to go home and sew now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then my job here is done. Well, if you don't have any more questions, we'll wrap this up for today, and we'll do this next month for another pattern that uses 2.5-inch strips.